let's talk core stories from Nutcracker. I did take you through the entirety of New York City Ballet's Nutcracker and give you all the secrets. I will link that playlist in a card. But today we're going to talk about my experiences and my stories. Some of these you may have heard in previous videos, some of these you haven't heard yet. I was in New York City Ballet 7 years, so I did many a Nutcracker. I want to go in order of the ballet. Let's start with party scene. When you're in the company, your very first year, you are in party scene. It is one of the things you must pay your dues with. Usually, I would say dancers do at least 2 or 3 years in party scene. Taller women are the parents, and shorter women are the maid or the grandmother. I was the grandmother for 3 years, many times, and you get an alternate. So with parents or maids or grandparents, you switch out. And unlike in the filming of Nutcracker, they didn't make me up to look old, probably because I had snow after. I remember one show just with a casting change, I had to do grandmother into Dewdrop. So I literally had like full glitter face with the old wig on. They took the wig off. That doesn't usually happen. You come in a little bit later so you don't have to be on the whole time. And I remember doing it with David Protas. I remember doing it with Anthony Huxley. It got a little frustrating after a while because it's also one of those things you don't really do much. You kind of hunch and hobble. It's still a great time. It's fun being on stage with all the kids and everybody else involved. Really, I don't have too many stories from party scene because it is one of those things that is meticulously rehearsed. Because there are children, you don't get a lot of artistic freedom unless you're kind of in the back not doing anything and not involved with the kids. So like if it's during the scene with the Nutcracker, you're just kind of on the side, you talk to your fellow party scene people. But it's really meticulous because you really don't want to throw off the children. If you do something weird or in a different spot or do different blocking, the kids who are probably 7, 8, 9, it can throw them off. So party scene is not a free-for-all. You are basically like given your track and you follow it. You know, one of the fun things to look for with parents in party scene though is if you see the stage laugh. Basically, it's like during a portion of party scene, this isn't a lot of production, a lot of dancers do this, where you're gonna like coordinate a laugh. So like there might be a little like huddle of parents. Everybody's like going in 1, 2, 3, and then somebody goes, now, and then everybody goes, that's a stage laugh. If you ever see that happening on the side, that's what that is. It's a coordinated 1, 2, 3. Oh, are we having the best time? I remember doing that a lot. But my best story from party season, some of you have heard this. There was a casting mix-up the night I was grandmother with Soldier Doll. During a matinee, this was a matinee performance, you take class at 12:30. There's 12:30 to 1:30 and the performance is at 2. And if you're in the cast, if they saw you in class, they went ahead and signed you in because dancers have to sign in by half hour for every performance to make sure everybody in the cast is there, we're good to go. Well, the Soldier Doll, these boys, I don't even remember who it was or who it was supposed to be, but each one thought the other one was doing it because there was a swap out for whatever reason. Sometimes it's a trickle down effect. If somebody has to do Candy Cane, then they're going to be taken out of Soldier and bump up to Candy Cane, so they need a new Soldier. There was some sort of switch that happened. And what happened was they were both in class that day. So whoever it was supposed to be, the registrar saw them, marked them in, we're good to go. Oh, he's in class. Great. Party scene starts and no one notices that there is no Soldier Doll warming up. There is no Soldier Doll that's gone to get his makeup done. Nobody noticed. The Harlequin dolls went and 𝐓𝐿𝐼, Robert LaFosse, the consummate professional, opens the box and there's no one there. We were all in the back because the parents are all in the back. I think the grandmother's on the couch to the side and you saw him like facing back be like, and then he turned around and went and did the whole solo by himself, like as 𝐓𝐿𝐼. I think he changed it because 𝐓𝐿𝐼 wears those like kind of period heels. So it wasn't possible to do the full Soldier solo, but he just ad-libbed the whole thing. And he got the biggest round of applause from the audience, from us. I think we all broke character and we're just like, I will never forget that. And thank goodness it was him because nobody could have handled it better than him. And since that day, they don't sign you in at the matinee. You have to still sign in yourself. Battle scene, I was never involved in. If you watch the battle scene video, all the mice are men or children. And then the soldiers are all children. Women are just not in battle scene. It's another one that is meticulous. During battle scene, the snowflakes are warming up in the wing. At a certain point, you have to kind of get out of the way because the couches are coming off. The sort of normal size sets are going off. The clock is going off. And then the big windows are coming in. All the kids are on and off, the cannon. Battle scene is one where they kind of require you to not be in the wing if you're not involved. So Snowflakes have to kind of like back up or stay in the back hallway. But that's what I remember about Balanchine, is not really ever being able to watch it because you have to keep the wings clear for sets and for danger. Snow scene. If you haven't watched any of the other videos, your first year in New York City Ballet, you do not get an alternate as a snowflake, meaning you do every single performance. Nowadays, it's about 48 to 52. My first year, I did 48 shows of snow, which is a lot. Snow is one of those things I never really got tired of dancing because it's so beautiful and so magical, and there are lots of entrances. You're not on the whole time, so it goes pretty quick. But it does get tedious of like how to make it interesting and how to make it exciting when you're on your 30-second show and you have 20 more to go. So one of the tricks we all used to do is we would play games every night. Not games that change the choreography, but we would be like, all right, tonight we're Disney princesses. Pick your favorite Disney princess and mentally dance this as that princess. Don't change the arms, don't change the head, don't change the feet. But like mentally, it was a game for us to like play. So I remember Disney princess game. I remember Jewel's game, like pick your favorite jewel, pick your favorite flower, pick your favorite color. Like it's just little stuff like that you would just change your mindset, that it made it so much better. I want to say the last week and a half of Nutcracker, maybe even the last 2 weeks, is a lot to get through, particularly if you've done every single performance. You had to do something. Rehearsing snow is also another interesting time because you do it every single day, pretty much. I remember doing it a lot. And if you don't have an alternate, you have to do every single run of it. And sometimes she would run back-to-back casts with 30 seconds in between. Once you get past your apprentice year, you do get an alternate, but still you have to do half. And then if somebody goes out or somebody is doing a principal role, you'll bump into that spot. So you end up still doing about 30 something performances, even if you have an alternate. And the tricky thing about it is once you get to the theater, there's very minimal rehearsal. Nutcracker is one of those ballets, it comes every single year. It's kind of like, well, we really only need to run like 1 or 2 casts, everybody figure it out. And the orchestra is very expensive. Every single rehearsal you have the orchestra, it's thousands of dollars, thousands. So Nutcracker being a score that everybody knows, everybody hears every single year, we didn't get the orchestra until the first performance. They don't do the dress run, they don't do the tech runs, you do it with the conductor and the piano. The conductor would come to rehearsals, so we knew what our tempos were and he knew what the tempos were, but then he would conduct the piano and that's all you got. And with snow, I maybe like my first year, well, every year really, I remember running it like maybe twice on stage before we did it. And Nutcracker is one of those ballets you never tech or dress the whole thing start to finish. There's no need to. It would be like, all right, tech of 2 casts of party scene. And then they would, the second cast of party scene, start battle scene so they could do the transition. Because you remember this happens every single year. And then there might be a transition into snow. And then we maybe would do act 2 tech on a different day because it's a well-oiled machine. You don't need to do that. And then you don't need to pay that many people to be there for hours and hours and hours. And people could come during the sections they were a part of and didn't have to be there for the sections they weren't. Like we didn't need to be there for battle scene. So with the tech for snow, you kind of just went for it. If you watch the snow video, the snow falls the whole time. The fans and the wings come on halfway through. And it's very much like good luck. There was no like prep ahead of time of like, okay, this is the snow and this is how it's gonna go and da-da-da. No, it's like lights, costumes, and snow on stage, first run, maybe we'll do it a second time. All right, we're good to go. Like that was it. And so the first couple performances, you're kind of just like figuring it out. The first performance of Nutcracker, like let's say the first weekend, everybody's still like in terms of snow and party scene, kind of getting their feet under them, especially if it's somebody's first year, because the tech and the dress process is so minimal. Fun stories from snow. I mean, I've told this story a lot, but the snow is in the bag. So if you don't know, a big bag, like a burlap canvas bag hangs and it has slits in it, and the snow, it goes back and forth like this. And I think at City Ballet there's 4 of them, and then it's gentle, so it doesn't all come out at once. But one year Tyler Peck and I were opposites, coming in the back and then we come forward. Well, a pen fell out of the thing, and so we were so fixated on not stepping on it because that's a hazard that we ran into each other. And I hit the floor. She halfway hit the floor. It was a hot mess. And people have found things like years later. I had a friend who found an earring that fell out of the thing that she lost like 2 or 3 years before. People have found like eyelashes or like random things fall out of the snow, the snowdrop. And they sweep it up and reuse it every show. I remember it was a school show. So I was the first snowflake out, and I'm boring and like, oh, yay, it's so pretty. And all the lights went out. The switchboard malfunctioned. And what you're supposed to do is keep going. I stopped and walked off because it was also dark. There was snow falling. I didn't want to get injured. Probably wasn't the best choice. I should have kept going. And then like one of the ballet masters was like running back and forth across the stage and was like, wait. And then I remember like sticking my head out the wing of like, where are we starting from? It's a live orchestra. So you're like, where are we starting from? And the ballet master was like, we're going from here. So I think we started from me coming out again. But that was a hot mess the day that the lights went out in snow. Another thing I want to mention before we jump to Act 2, Pom Pom Protocol, is if you get caught on another person, let go. Because it's more dangerous. It takes more time to struggle with somebody than to just drop it. And that's what they are supposed to do. It's far less dangerous than trying to like get unstuck. And then you ruin, and it's like a domino effect, and then you're in the wrong place. Just let go and keep going. So don't judge a girl if somebody drops a pom-pom. Moving to Act 2. I actually didn't do that many roles in Act 2. My first year, my apprentice year, the core of Spanish. And there are 4 couples that are the core, and each is a different color. I was red. At the time, my apprentice year, I would think I was like 2nd or 3rd shortest woman in the company. So I was too short to do flowers, because as an apprentice, you'll either do Spanish or flowers. Short does Spanish, tall does flowers. And it was fun for me because the boys alternate. I remember my partner alternating, but the 4 of us women did not. And so it was nice to dance with somebody different. The lead couple would alternate, which was always fun. Spanish was fun because it's another one that's like you're on, you're off. And then you get to watch the rest of Act 2. You get to watch all the Sugarplums, all the Dewdrops. If you're in flowers, you have to stay warm until flowers. And then during sugar, you're like, so Spanish, you're on, you're off, and then you get to enjoy everybody else. Those costumes for Spanish are so heavy. Like the headpiece alone, you're just kind of like, you just feel like you're top heavy. And then the skirts on the dresses are really heavy. Big tourgetés, and it just weighs you down. That was the hard part about Spanish, and wearing the painted point shoes. When any shoes are painted at City Ballet, at least at the time when I was there, it's spray paint. And they would have somebody do it for us. We had a shoe master who painted, because they all had to be very specific colors to match the tights, done in a very specific way. So you would take your shoes with like a Post-it note with your name and like turn them into him. And he had a list of who's doing what and who needs what color. Whether or not that's still true, anybody at City Ballet, let me know. Do they still dye your shoes for you, or do you have to? Spanish was just fun and easy, and like fun song. And it was just the costume that was kind of rough. Then, of course, I've never did Arabian. I never did Chinese. I did Marzipan. Oh, the joy of Marzipan. If you've watched any video on here of me talking about that, you know that I think that's the hardest role in Nutcracker. It was very difficult for me. You're just kind of like, you have your little flute, which, they're kind of slippery, so you don't want to lose your flute. You have the tutu that moves. It's like a basket on ribbons, and so you turn and it turns, and you stop and it keeps turning. I debuted Marzipan my 2nd year. So my first year I did Snow and Spanish. 2nd year I did Marzipan and Sugarplum, which was a lot. But I debuted Marzipan opening weekend. They don't like to do a lot of debuts opening weekend, and 2 of us debuted opening weekend. I think it was myself and Erica Pereira. And then for whatever reason that year, so many people were injured that we were down to like 4 or 5 Marzipans for the entire run. So we were doing it like 2 or 3 times a week. So for 40, 50 something shows, there were 4 Marzipans. I did more Marzipans than I ever wanted to do in my life, because it's a height thing. She has to be somewhat short. A lot of the Marzipans also do Dewdrop and Sugar. It was just who was doing what, and we're down so many people, and like, you're not doing anything, you do it again. I did a lot of Marzipans in my life. We had a guest conductor who played it warp speed. I swear that dance was like half the time it usually was. And people in the wings were laughing because it was so fast. And I was like, I'm gonna stay on this music, and I did it, and I felt like a complete spastic basket case, literally, in that tutu. One of the ballet masters was literally, I ran off, and she was like, I don't know how you did that, but good job, girl. Because like, what are you going to do? You're stuck. Live music is beautiful, and it's wonderful, and it's magical. That's one of the downsides. You are at the mercy of the conductor. And if he is just like, we're getting through this, you got to stay on it. There's no excuse. You can't be behind. You got to stay with your core, and the core is trying to stay on it. And so I think if I remember correctly, I took any and all double turns out. I think I did all singles just to like stay on the beat. Yeah, that was interesting. And I'm not the fastest mover in the bunch. Marzipan was one of those things that just, I had a couple good shows of it, but it just was always really tricky for me. And I remember this vividly. There were 2 roles at New York City Ballet that I was so nervous for. One of them was Aurora in The Sleeping Beauty, and the other one was Marzipan. And I remember Peter Martins was backstage before the day of my debut of Marzipan, and he looked at me and he was like, "You're nervous, aren't you?" And I was like, "Uh-huh." He's like, "For this?" I was like, "Uh-huh." And then he was just kind of like, "Yeah, I can see that." Like, not nervous for Dewdrop, not nervous for Sugarplum. I mean, a little nervous for Sugarplum, but I was more nervous for Marzipan than Sugarplum, because that's how hard it was for me. It was like everything I wasn't good at in Marzipan. So it was actually probably a role that I needed to like grow and achieve things in, but it was just not. Flowers now. My second Nutcracker, once I was a main member of the company, I was bumped to Flowers. I never did Spanish again. I only did Spanish my first year. So my second Nutcracker I was double cast. I had an alternate for Snow and I had an alternate for Flowers. And I was definitely one of the shortest Flowers on that stage. Flowers is very challenging for a multitude of reasons. Number 1, you never leave the stage. Number 2, you have to wait around for all the diverts and stay warm and then do Grand Allegro for 6 minutes. Particularly if you're a demi, shout out to the demi Flowers, we talked about it. Flowers is actually, it's super fun to do because it's so beautiful and everybody knows the music, but it's actually very tricky with the dresses, with waiting around, with what the steps are. But it's just beautiful and fun. And then of course, depending on who your Dewdrop is, you get to like be with your friends and look at the Dewdrop, and different Dewdrops have slightly different spacings for their fouettes. So you kind of just have to be alert of who is what and how. But my favorite Flower story is one of those stories where I learned, well, okay, this is how this really goes. The day I debuted Sugarplum, it was a matinee. Curtain came down, in my tiara with my flowers, with my partner. The registrar came up to me. Tommy Lemansky, I think is still there. Tommy, you're a rock star. This man does the whole schedule and the casting and figures out who is what and how and who swaps in for it. Like, this job is huge. So he comes up to me. I am still full glamour Sugarplum. He goes, "Hi, Katie, congratulations, beautiful show. So tonight, it's not your cast of Flowers, but so-and-so's out for things, so we have to bump this person up to Marzipan. So basically, I need you for Flowers. It's your spot, but the other side. So when you're a dancer, you are either like, I'm a stage right flower or I'm a stage left flower. And so if you're a stage right flower, you're always sauteing this way. We're turning, you spend months rehearsing it one way. But then they're like, well, it's your girl, but her opposite. So just flip it all. So like, instead of writing with your right hand, write with your left hand. It's fine. All the same words, all the same steps. Flip it. When you get thrown onto a different spot that is your spot but mirror image, you're just like, what is happening? And he was like, so I'm gonna need you to flip. Because the nice thing about this, the reason I had to do this, I don't think this is the same with other companies, but at City Ballet, let's say somebody in the core goes out and this person's alternate was doing a principal role that night. I don't know, Arabian. They're not going to take that person out of Arabian to go back to their core spot. They're going to put somebody else in that core spot to keep that person's principal spot. You're not going to get like demoted because somebody gets injured 99% of the time. So this person's alternate was on for Arabian or whatever, and they didn't want to demote them because the other person got out. So instead I was off. It was not my cast. So they were like, oh, it'll be fine. Just put her in. It's her spot flipped. I was like, okay. And he said to me, by the way, he was like, I don't think you're going to get an emergency rehearsal. Maybe we had one, maybe we didn't. An emergency rehearsal happens if somebody gets injured or goes out, as we say. That will happen at like hour call, half-hour call, or intermission to walk through, not do, but just walk the person through their spot. They're written in red on the schedule, so it's very obvious. Emergency rehearsal, 6 o'clock, Flowers with Morgan. So I don't actually remember if we got an emergency rehearsal, but I remember that night I had never in my life had to think that hard being on for a roll. Like, okay, so yeah, it's a saute, but I'm not on the left foot, I'm on the right foot. Okay, I have to run the other way. Okay, I'm in my line, there's my spot. Okay, like I felt like, I went from French to Mandarin. Like it was like, anyway, but it was one of those moments of just like, bring you back down to earth. Yes, nice show of Sugarplum, great. I need you for flowers. There was a very humbling experience to be able to be like, okay, take your tiara off and now come back as part of the team. And that's just how it goes all the time for that company, because it's such a big company. There's so many ballets, there's so many people. You want to give people opportunities, like Nutcracker, like we talked about in the overrated video. It's where they give people opportunities, so they don't want to demote you to have to go back to your core spot. So like people have to step up and figure it out. It happens in snow. Snow and flowers are the two big ones that it happens in. And because of all the traffic patterns, it's a lot to figure out. But yeah, that was a fun time. So Dewdrop, I debuted my third Nutcracker. So I was one of those people, and some people have done this, where I debuted Sugarplum the year before I did Dewdrop. I loved that part. I loved that part so much. I rehearsed with Sally Leland, who is no longer with us. She was like the ballet master assigned to me. Every single ballet master works on Nutcracker, but they're all assigned different parts. And City Ballet has about 12 ballet masters, and basically they run rehearsals, they help cast, they help set the ballets. Usually during the rest of the year, there's like the Balanchine ballet masters, and they'll work on Balanchine ballets. And then you have the Robbins ballet masters. They work on Robbins pieces. And then you'll have different ballet masters assigned for new works, or the Wheeldon ballets, or the Peck ballets. All in all, there's about 12 of them, but they all do Nutcracker. The party scene ballet masters and the second act ballet masters. And so my Dewdrop ballet master was Sally Leland. And for whatever reason, I worked with her privately that year, because the other Dewdrop ballet master was working with the other two new debuts. I don't remember who they were. I just remember rehearsing with Sally and just getting a lot of great feedback. I loved Dewdrop. That might be my favorite role. I remember one of the things about being a dancer is you want to be nice to your conductors. You want to make friends with them and be kind to them, because again, they could mess you up if they wanted to. But I was always like being kind and saying hi and saying thank you. And so anytime I did Dewdrop at intermission, because the conductor comes back and was like, how's it going? And I would wave to him and be like, hi, it's me tonight. And he'd be like, and so he'd take the edge off the tempo for me. He would slow it down ever so slightly, because fast is not my thing. And so I just remember that, like every time I did it, being like, and I gotcha. And so it was nice for me to like have the edge off. Not by much, because it's still New York City Ballet, but I remember being like a comfier tempo for me. And one of the things I will never forget, debuting afterwards, Benjamin Millepied was in the wings. Benjamin Millepied, of course, is Natalie Portman's now ex-husband, Black Swan, the whole thing. And he was watching, and I came off and he was like, thank you so much for being you doing that role. Everybody's trying to be Ashley Bowder. Who does Ashley Bowder? We kind of talked about this in the Dewdrop video, or the Flowers video. Ashley Bowder was like the queen of Dewdrops, and everybody was trying to be her, and everybody was trying to do it like she does, and it only works for her. And I remember I learned a big lesson that day, Ben saying to me, thank you for being you in this role. And I never forgot that. And that's something I tried to do the rest of the time I was there. And it meant more to me than him saying, that was beautiful. It was just like, thank you for being authentic. Yeah, that costume, the headpiece, like I don't have any bad stories about Dewdrop. It was just absolutely magical. So finally we're here at Sugarplum. Debuted the second year. I was 19. Weirdly, I started learning it with Meryl Ashley and Sean Lavery. They were the ballet masters that always did Sugarplum at that point. And I was learning it with Tyler Engel. Tyler and I have been rehearsing it since October. We've been working on it. And then like maybe 2 weeks before, I think it was when casting went up, because casting only ever goes up 2 weeks before. You don't know what shows you're doing until casting goes up, and it's always only 2 weeks before. You know what you're rehearsing, but you don't know if you're going to get to do it, or what day you're going to do it. So when it went up, I was cast with Gonzalo Garcia, who is now the director of Miami City Ballet. And he is a gem of a human being. Like, he is one of the nicest people you will ever meet. Everybody loves Gonzalo. It was his like first or second year in New York. He had been a principal with San Francisco Ballet and then joined City Ballet. And I think they were trying to like find partners for him. So it went up on casting for me to do Sugarplum with Gonzalo. And I had never rehearsed with Gonzalo at all. So then all of a sudden, my rehearsals switched to Dancing with Gonzalo, and I debuted with him. Then casting went up further, and it was with Tyler. And I never did another one with Gonzalo. I think I was maybe too tall for him, because while on flat, we're fine. When I'm on Pointe, because my feet are so big, I'm taller. I think Peter was just testing people with him. Of course, he eventually settled on Megan and Bowder and Sterling. And I did the debut with Gonzalo and then never did it again with him, and did my second two with Tyler that first year. And then it came back the next year, and I did it with Tyler again. It was magical, and then the two with Tyler were magical. The little disc, everybody asks about it, that goes across the stage. You get to rehearse that at half hour. So what happens is snow ends, curtain comes in. They sweep the snow. That takes about 5-10 minutes. Ideally 5 minutes, because intermission's only 20 minutes. Once the stage is ready, you maybe have 8 minutes before curtain by that point, maybe 10. But they'll do a sugar and cab to the stage, sugar and cab to the stage. The Sugarplum and Cavalier get to rehearse on the disc. They do it every show. At intermission, they will always rehearse the disc going across without fail. It's like part of the schedule. So it gives them a chance to do it once. It's kind of like a fight call. Like at a half hour situation or an intermission situation, they always run fights in a ballet, like Romeo and Juliet. There's always a fight call. They always go through all the sword fights, both before the show and at intermission if there's one in Act 2. Same kind of thing. It's like the Sugarplum fight call. So you go and you rehearse the little disky thing, and you can maybe do it once or twice, and then that's it. Even like if it's your 100 millionth Sugarplum, you still get to rehearse the disc at intermission. It's not as bad as people think it is. It's kind of up to the boy and the stagehand doing it. It's on this little pulley system, and it rolls. You as the girl just hold your arabesque, and that's kind of it. Don't drop your leg. Yeah, Sugarplum was wonderful all the times I did it. Best thing about Balanchine's version is you get the solo out of the way, which is life-changing. I have done many guestings where I call it the real people version, which is pas de deux, boy solo, girl solo, coda. And that is so much harder. The Balanchine version where the solo's first at the top of the act in your little pink tutu, and you get it over with, and then all the diverts come in, and then all you have left to do is the pas de deux and coda. Life-changing. The real people version is so much harder. As my friend Jenna Herrera, who's a principal with Ballet West, always says, she goes, just 12 minutes of my life. It's just 12 minutes of my life. It's going to be fine. I can do anything for 12 minutes. That's what it feels like when you have to do the full, complete pas solo solo coda version. It's like you are standing on the edge of a cliff. Like, I have to do this. I have no choice. And this is not going to stop until it's over. Once you step out on the stage, it is the 12 hardest minutes of your life. So the Balanchine version is like so easy compared to that. I find the pas de deux harder, but it's because it can stand alone. It's life-changing. You get to wear 2 costumes. It's great. So those are my Nutcracker stories. I literally can't think of anything else to tell you about it. If you want to go back through the full deconstructed ballet, I'll link it in a card and below. If you missed that video about Nutcracker, is it overrated? It's not. Spoiler. It's right there. You can click it to watch. Love you guys so much, and I'll see you next time.